What's going on, guys? In this video, I want to talk about my thoughts on Kokomi. It has been pretty apparent that a majority of the community, and maybe also Mihoyo, are skeptical that Kokomi can bring much value to the current character roster. Although I don't roll on every character myself, I will be rolling for Kokomi because I think she has a top tier design and will work well in some of my most used team compositions. I won't be discussing leaks in this video and won't be responding to comments regarding leaks, but would love to hear your thoughts on Kokomi and if you'll be rolling for her, if she's an easy skip, or if you'll wait to see how she'll perform on release. My goal is neither to hype up Kokomi or convince you not to roll in this video, but rather just discuss my thoughts on this character. Everyone plays Genshin differently and for different reasons. Some people only care about meta, other people can't yet clear Abyss and are working towards it, and others mostly play co-op or play Genshin for story and exploration and don't touch Abyss at all. Therefore, I think there's a place for every character in this game, and because a character may not be valuable to you, doesn't mean that they're not valuable to someone else. For me personally, I only care about meta enough to 36-star Abyss, and since my account is comfortably there, I can build characters for other reasons and not worry about it. From everything Mihoyo has revealed, Kokomi is a healer with some on and off-field DPS built into her kit. Her elemental skill applies Hydro, which deals damage and heals the active character, and appears to tick about every 2 seconds. Her elemental burst does AoE Hydro damage, gives her a damage bonus to her normal attack and skill based on her max HP, and heals the entire party when she normal attacks. This skill also refreshes the Bake Karagi she summons with her elemental skill. Oh yeah, and she can't crit. The fact that she's the first character that doesn't benefit from crit stats is an interesting mechanic. This should either mean that her natural damage scaling is high, or that Mihoyo gave her insane healing potential. The problem with the second point is that this just isn't currently needed, and the value of extra healing over damage is a net loss in my opinion. One benefit to not having to rely on critical hits is consistent damage on every one of her attacks. Overall, she seems like a mix of Mona, Barbara, and Noelle. She has a summon like Mona that applies Hydro to enemies at fixed intervals, she has a mix of on-field and off-field healing like Barbara, and she has burst healing and damage increases like Noelle. Mona is a great damage enabler, but her off-field Hydro application in non-freeze teams is quite lackluster and in my opinion isn't what her kit is centered around. Barbara is an amazing healer, but has zero consistent off-field Hydro application or damage, and Noelle is in a weird spot, really only excelling at Constellation 6, and she demands too much field time as a healer to be justified in most comps. The only true off-field Hydro support we have is Xingqiu, who is irreplaceable. So Kokomi could have a place in the current meta. You can tell Mihoyo put a lot of effort not only into her appearance, but also into her attack animations, and she rivals very well designed and unique characters like Hu Tao in my opinion. Okay, so with that info out of the way, let's look at some of the reasons why Kokomi isn't as well received as some other characters. There's a reason why Qiqi is the least wanted off-banner 5-star by the majority of the player base, and that is because the amount of healing she brings is just not needed for most players, and she doesn't really have any off-field damage. Field time is one of the most valuable things in the current Genshin meta. For the entire first year of Genshin, the Abyss has been primarily just a DPS check. Because of this, characters that do off-field damage are extremely valuable, and characters that need to be on the field to do the majority or all of their damage need to have very high damage output during this time to justify their field time. On top of this, Mihoyo seems to be leaning more and more towards designing characters that have a power spike during their skill or burst window, and who must remain on the field during this time, like Xiao, Hu Tao, Yoimiya, Raiden, and Eula. The downtime of these characters is usually best filled, rotating to all other support units to generate energy and set up for the next burst window. None of the current healers offer much off-field DPS, and some offer none at all. If Kokomi's elemental skill functions similar to Fischl's Oz, she'll likely be a really good addition to a number of teams. And if her damage during her burst window is high, this can make her a good unit to swap in during the downtime of some of the other burst DPS units mentioned. With all that said, I think most casual players value healers a lot, and they definitely have their place in the game. Healers do bring a lot of comfort for exploration or boss fights, and quality of life to open world play. I personally almost always run a dedicated healer, and have a fully built Diona, Jean, Sayu Bennett, and Noelle in my account to prove it. Some of this discussion will naturally be focused more on meta players, but I don't want to leave more casual players out of the discussion as well. There's no doubt that most team comps, excluding Zhongli, typically have some sort of healer, but we have some very good healers already in the game, and the game launched with 2 healers that have kept up very well with the meta. Bennett is completely broken and irreplaceable, and while he does not offer a full burst party heal or 100% heal, he provides a damage bonus that is unmatched by any other character. Jean is another very powerful healer whose healing scales with attack, and therefore building damage also results in more healing, and she has very good damage potential when built with high investment. She also has access to the Viridescent Resistance Shred and can therefore fill multiple roles. Since release, we've also gotten Diona, who is still very relevant because she has the second strongest shield in the game after Zhongli, and her C6 provides 200 elemental mastery to the party. All 3 of these healers offer much more than healing, so for Kokomi to compete, she has to bring a similar supporting aspect. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about whether a healer meta will ever become a thing. Before Sayu, the last dedicated healer we saw was Diona, and she seemed to be designed around her shield more so than her healing. Well, Mihoyo just released Sayu, and 3 weeks after her banner ends, we have Kokomi. So it is possible that healer meta could be a thing soon. The Abyss rotation that just came out this week features the corrosion mechanic in floor 11 that slowly drains HP of the entire party and mandates good healers on your team. We've seen other similar mechanics in game with sheer cold and blazing heat. It is 100% justified to run Kokomi in floor 11 because of the amount of healing she can do and the fact that she can heal the whole party, but unless this is a permanent addition to Abyss and other content in game, it isn't enough for most players to justify pulling Kokomi for this reason alone. If we can take continuous damage through a shield with these special mechanics, then healers again become necessary. However, filling the game with these types of mechanics means nerfing Zhongli. We've already seen the outrage Zhongli created within the community, and it's really hard for me to picture a situation where Mihoyo makes Zhongli less relevant, but I guess time will tell. Kokomi will only be the 5th Hydro user in the game, and we haven't gotten a single Hydro user since Child in patch 1.1. That said, she'll be the 3rd Hydro Catalyst. Hydro will be tied with Geo for the least amount of characters if we count Geo Traveler, and will have the most Catalyst users of any element. That's a bit mind-blowing to me that this element could be so poorly balanced in the available weapon types. Unfortunately, I think either Catalyst or Bow users are the least popular weapon type. I personally don't mind Catalyst users, but I'm not a big fan of the current Catalyst lineup outside of Ningguang. With Kokomi's beautiful burst animations, she does look like a Catalyst user that I could enjoy a lot. With some of Kokomi's potential shortcomings out of the way, let's discuss some strengths. For most Pyro DPS users aside from Yanfei and Yoimiya, Hydro is a pretty essential element to boost their damage. Xingqiu is really the only Hydro support that can be used alongside a Pyro DPS because of his rate of Hydro application and his burst uptime. Xingqiu is essential to my Hu Tao team, which really only leaves me with Mona for freeze comps with Ganyu and Ayaka, or electrocharge comps with Raiden. While Mona has damage amplification built into her kit and does work well in freeze comps, her role as a support in electrocharge comps isn't as good, and her team slot isn't always justified for me personally. Being able to consolidate Mona's role into the healer slot in these teams for me is personally a win, even if Kokomi doesn't necessarily bring the same damage amplification as Mona. While Catalyst users aren't the most popular, they do have access to one of the best support weapons in the game, the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers. For me, the problem with this weapon typically means a pretty significant DPS loss for the character equipping it. Kokomi is actually the first Catalyst user whose damage and healing scale in HP, so she can benefit from the HP percent subset of this weapon fully, while providing a pretty significant damage buff to the team with only a minimal DPS loss over 4 or 5-star variants. Additionally, in patch 1.5, we got Zhongli's signature support artifact set, the Tenacity of the Millilith, which gives the equipper 20% HP and provides the same attack buff as Noblesse when your elemental skill hits opponents. While this works well on characters other than Zhongli like Fischl, it is a big DPS loss to her overall. Based on what we know about Kokomi's elemental skill, this set should work very well for support Kokomi, as she'll have high uptime on her skill, and her skill appears to function similar to Oz. And since, like Zhongli, Kokomi scales on HP, she fully benefits from the 4-piece set. If I didn't think Kokomi would be a good fit in some of my team comps, she'd be an easy pass. But as someone that uses Ganyu and Ayaka, Kokomi slots very well into the Hydro slot and Permafreeze comps while also occupying the healer role, allowing for an Anemo unit and cryo support like Rosaria or Kaya to occupy the other slots. I did get very lucky on the Raiden banner and was able to get her Constellation 2, so she's an amazing burst TPS who works very well in Electrocharge comps. While Xingqiu is the preferred Hydro support, he's more valuable in other comps in my opinion, and Mona just doesn't synergize very well with Raiden. I plan to run Raiden with Sucrose, Sara, and Kokomi next week. That's all my thoughts on Kokomi for now until more testing can be done. I really hope she ends up being a much better unit than she has appeared to be so far, and then Mihoyo can redeem Kokomi. If you think I missed anything at all, please feel free to let me know in the comments. If you guys found this video helpful or informative, please consider subscribing down below. I put out Genshin Impact videos just like this one every single week. I'll see you soon for the next video. Peace.